Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. Ladies and gentlemen, we got some breaking news to open up today's show. I had written a different show, and then something broke. I got some confirmation from Mag, as a matter of fact. He called me all the way from Canada this morning. We were talking about the potential for Returnal to be the next big game to be ported over from PlayStation Studios onto an Xbox console via, of course, Nixxes. We're going to get into that. We also had some drama, as the kids like to say, over the weekend on regarding whether or not Fairgames is or isn't canceled. I've heard some things. Destin Legary has heard some things. It's going to be an interesting conversation, and it just goes to lend to the fact that if Fairgames is actually canceled, why you're going to see more and more games ported over to Xbox via PlayStation Studios and Nixxes, because these canceled games, they do cost a lot of money. And we have a few other topics, some a little bit smaller to get into. Gamescom obviously is jumping off. Open Night Live is tomorrow, I think, and then of course you have the two projected days. We're going to get into what they're going to be showing, and asking the question on whether or not there's going to be any surprise drops. But hey, Crispy Bomb, how was your weekend, brother? Welcome back. Great to see you here. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Just got done with inventory, came in hot, and just made it. So, yeah, of course, breaking news. I swear, every time I'm here. But
It's good stuff. Yeah, well, listen, we love breaking
but
news.
we're gonna get into it.
And we love having you here. Speaking of coming in hot, I just got done with the gym, got my 4.5 miles on the elliptical, did chest today. My chest is screaming. The old man chest is screaming to death, but it was worth every bit of the 2 hours I was in the gym. So yes, hashtag health is wealth, ladies and gentlemen. And for the old man that's going to be 55, I can still hang with these young bucks, which I absolutely love. But speaking of old men and best bald heads in the business, like me, Fuzzy Belvedere, what's going on, my brother? We had a great show on Friday. I think we're going to have an even better show today. How the heck are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Glad to be here with you guys. Yeah, it looks like we got clipped about port begging for Returnal a while back, and I guess it's actually coming.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know what? Let the clips happen. I mean, look, I'm not trying to call anybody out, but the people that clipped you or clipped us are obviously talentless. Like, if they really had a voice in the community, they wouldn't be clipping anybody. They would be talking, about video games. And well, they don't. So that's sad. I say make your own channel, and speak. Get in front of a camera, do what we do on a regular basis, and stop clipping. Hashtag stop clipping. Anyway, listen. Let's get into this breaking news. Now, obviously, this comes the way of Mag, who is one half of the Xbox, the Xbox show with Colt Eastwood each and every Monday. And obviously, Mag was a big part of primetime gaming for many, many years until he had to leave because of work. Well, he did a video this morning, ladies and gentlemen, which again, I'm not going to. I mean, I could use it. We talked, so it's not a problem. But what he does say in the video is that, and again, I wanted to kind of just follow his pace. He does confirm that the talks between PlayStation and Xbox are currently ongoing for their next game to come to Xbox Series consoles, as of earlier this morning, and that game is Returnal. Now, interestingly enough, you may want to have some thoughts and theories as to why Returnal. Well, for a couple of reasons, and I did some digging into the actual sales of Returnal, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm here to tell you it's not good. As of this morning, I have it pulled here. It says Returnal has sold an estimated 866,000 copies on PlayStation 5. The PC version has sold 162,000 copies. Therefore, the total combined sales for both PS5 and PC are approximately 1,028,000 copies. Folks, I do have it confirmed that the studio did make a profit. on the 1,000,028 sold. But that's not a lot of copies. Obviously, they do have a sequel that has already been announced, and it is coming. I don't think it's next year. I'm almost positive it's 2027. But I mean, this is the reason, folks. Like Returnal is a very difficult game. It is a bullet hell shooter in third person. I never bought it. I never played it. I know that a lot of people like Mag tried to platinum it, and it was unbelievably difficult. I think a game like that could exist on Xbox. I don't know if it sells more because it is a bit of a niche type of shooter, and it is incredibly difficult. So I don't know if it's a game that is going to like blow up the charts. Like right now, you know, depending on who you speak to, Helldivers 2, for a lot of reasons, is and has excited the fan base on Xbox. Now, is it because of Helldivers itself? I would say, yeah. I believe Helldivers 2 has a really cool draw to it. But I think when you combined the fact that it's going to incorporate ODST Helljumpers, well, that's a really big deal. That's a monster-sized crossover. So, of course, the masses are getting excited for it, and I'm one of them. I cannot wait for the game to play the game, and it's going to be a lot of fun, especially if, you know, again, I really hope that this is one of those situations that you have in a team, you know, people from PlayStation, people from PC, people from Xbox, and they're all just, you know, there for Super Earth. And I really think you're going to get that. I think you're going to get some trolls, sure. There's going to be some team killing. There's going to be some shenanigans. But I think most people are really, really excited about Helldivers 2. But, of course, Crispy Bomb, we're talking about Returnal. And look, I mean, look, I don't think anybody in the chat nor on the panel has to be a mathematician to understand that Sony's change in philosophy or ideology, whatever word you want to use, regarding third party, regarding multi-plat, has to do with their failings with all of the gas games that they announced and had to cancel. Some were publicly announced, others were canceled behind the scenes. These are millions upon millions of dollars that are lost that they're just never going to be able to recover. And how they can recover is follow exactly what Xbox has been doing. And quite frankly, we've said this before, and we're going to continue to say it until it changes. Right now, Xbox games are literally blowing up the charts and eating PlayStation's lunch on their own store. And I'm sure that PlayStation wants to have that same conversation, you know, with, you know, and or at least us have that same conversation in the podcast community. Are you surprised by the fact that both sides are talking, and the next game that could be coming over, Crispy Bomb, is Returnal?
I mean, kind of makes sense again, just like Helldivers did. You know, it's a shooter, it's single player. I mean, we get Doom in Game Pass. Maybe that's the route they go. You never know. I don't know if they want the PR from it, from, you know, the meltdowns that might happen. But I think I'm pretty sure the meltdowns are pretty much over. But you never know. You really don't. Not with social media. Logically, like barely creeping over 1 million for 2 platforms. If you made a profit, but how much margin did you make? Can you make a larger margin and sell? We'll just throw 250,000 copies on Xbox or something like that, just because of the type of game it is. It's possible. Could you take a bag and go into Game Pass? That's also possible. And I think you'd have a lot more people try it out, at least. It's one of those conundrums, because what else are you going to do with it? There's no planned DLC or anything, right? I mean, you know, what price point do you put it at? Do they put it at the same price they sold it at? Do they lower it? These are all things that, you know, you have to consider. You know, the percentages that, you know, PlayStation would get on Xbox are pretty good. They're actually better than what Sony gives. So, I mean, realistically, it is a totally logical game to put on either way, shape, or form. And also, you know, give people a taste of, you know, the challenge that is that game. I mean, I've heard stories, and from people that have even tried it, and it is not an easy game. So it's kind of funny because we've talked about this. You know what I mean? It's just it's a little crazy that people just don't understand that maybe we kind of look at it a little different because we watch Xbox games just destroying on PlayStation, and immediately as I kept seeing the charts go up and up, I kept bringing up the Trojan horse status. Like it really, when they release it, a game and then an older game from Xbox goes on and it beats some of their games, it becomes a problem. It really does, because especially if you have they do have more casuals, they have more people in their ecosystem, and if you have more casuals that play more of the other games, Madden and everything, and then you have them say, oh wait, Forza looks like a really cool racing game, I'll grab that. But then you have a Death Stranding go in there and they're like, nah, we're good. So then all of a sudden you're selling more because you're getting some games in there that casuals would be interested in and say, hey, like I'll buy that too, and I think Sony's looking at it, and possibly maybe these Helldivers numbers might be really good, and they're like, okay, let's start thinking about the next one. And I think that's exactly what's happening right now.
I mean, you make a lot of sense, and you're not wrong. I really think that something like Helldivers, look, Sony has the numbers, right? They're well aware, Fuzzy, on how many people from Xbox have actually pre-ordered it. And interestingly enough, this is not really slander. This has been reported by several people. I talked about it on the social over the weekend. Interestingly enough, if you think that the console wars are still a thing, folks, not really. I think that they're dead. And why? Because right now, PlayStation is actually advertising to buy the Xbox version of Helldivers on their own store and webpage. That's it. Console war is over, ladies and gentlemen. Sony, listen. You're not going to hear me saying Sony waved the white flag. Sony is a corporation. They are a billion-dollar corporation that sees the trillion-dollar corporation in Microsoft making a lot of money on their own store, right? And I don't want to keep reiterating the point, but it has to, because some people are just dense like that. They don't get it. Okay. The idea of exclusives, even though it is still foreign to the OGs, is gone. It's just gone. Did Xbox do it faster than what PlayStation is doing? Absolutely. I think PlayStation is taking baby steps, no pun intended, which, by the way, that looks freaking awful, but fine, whatever. They are going to, I know a lot of people like saying, full slate, God of War, Uncharted, maybe. I mean, there is a rumor, and again, I have this is completely unconfirmed, that Herman Holtz is pushing, like seriously pushing, to get Lego Horizon and Horizon Zero Dawn dropped onto Xbox. Now, that is unconfirmed. I'm trying to reach out to a couple of people that I do know that might have that information. As of right now, I cannot get it confirmed, but that makes perfect sense. Those are his babies, right? And he would love to see those games played by more players. And if they could sell 2, 3, 4 million copies between the both on Xbox, they would absolutely love it. Guess what, folks? I'm not a stan. I'd buy both games. I really would on Xbox, but I don't even think it twice. But Fuzzy, based on the Helldivers fever that has the community really excited, I think Sony looks at this. These decisions to port games are not made lightly. You saw in that business meeting from about a month and a half ago on how they are looking into the ports, and they are, of course, putting the community first. At least they say they are, in what ports they decide. So, we don't know. But Returnal, considering that it's sold not really great, this might be one. And again, I agree with Crispy. Do I think that Xbox players going to buy a million copies of this game? I don't know because I haven't played it. I know that it's very difficult. It is a niche. It is basically a bullet hell game that you would play from the OG 90s, right? Except you're playing in third person. That sounds pretty interesting to me. I just never was interested enough to buy it on PlayStation. But would I buy it on Xbox? Yeah, I kind of would. If the price was right, I would. What are your thoughts on to the new information that comes the way of MAG? Of course, one half of XNC with Colt Eastwood on Monday evenings. Do you think this is a reality? And do you think the two sides could actually work out a deal?
Yeah, I do. And, shout out to Mag. A lot of times, some of his predictions, while the gaming community may not like some of his predictions, but more times than often, they wind up coming to fruition. So I would say that there's probably there as far as that that leak, as far as it coming over to Xbox and Nixxes working on it. I When we would hypothetically talked about other like single player titles coming to Xbox and what would make sense, Returnal was one of the first ones I mentioned, primarily because it has co-op, and it's like that feature that they added to the game that the PlayStation player base just completely ignores. And co-op games seem to do very well on Xbox. Case in point, Helldivers 2. It's a co-op game. It's meant to be played with 4 players in the team. Hopefully no team kills, but the shenanigans that go on are what make that game a big draw. Now, it's a little bit different when it comes to Returnal. Think of Space Harrier mixed with Demon Souls kind of thing. That would be about the best way to look at it. Yes, it is a bullet hell, and it's a bit trickier traversing through that constantly changing map. It's like it's not going to be the same map that you played before you died the last time, or when you tried to go through that level, a playthrough ago. It's always going to be changing and adjusting based on how you play it or what doors you choose to go through. Having a second player to be able to do that in co-op fits nicely in the Xbox ecosystem. A lot of games, you'll have people in a party chat, teaming up, whether it's Battlefield, Call of Duty, or any other shooter. This one would probably do a bit better. Not saying it's going to outsell what it did on PlayStation, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did, just because of that co-op feature being a somewhat of a draw for the Xbox community. But it makes perfect sense to me. Like I said earlier, I got clipped for it because I also said, well, if they were to ever convert that to a games as a service, which, having something that's almost like a roguelike in regards to the different types of weapons, they could do the same type seasonal stuff that you see in games like The Division or even Diablo for that matter, and have it where it can be an ongoing game. I don't foresee the PlayStation player base continuing to play it. It seemed like a lot of people that fell off. Like by the time I bought it on PlayStation, I waited until it was on sale because I wasn't paying the full 70 for it, but waited until it was on sale. And by that point, when they added the co-op, everybody that wanted to play it already played it and didn't want to bother doing the co-op. So it's, I think it would do a bit better as far as from a co-op standpoint on Xbox. And, actually I'm looking forward to it, and we'll probably wind up purchasing it. Now, the key thing that I would like for to see Nixxes do or PlayStation do in cases like this is make it where the thing could be co-op, where it's a cross-platform, where a person on PC can play in the same instance as a person on PlayStation or a person on Xbox. I think ultimately, if PlayStation moves in that same direction, kind of like what Xbox is doing with Play Anywhere and such, and cross-play, I think this game would be a good bit more successful. It is a bit of a niche game, but shooters are shooters, and this is a fun one, although it can be frustrating, but having that extra help can definitely make it a little bit more of an enjoyable experience. But yeah, I totally see this one coming, and if I'm going to throw out a prediction next, would probably be Days Gone. That's another one that's sitting collecting dust that, they did a remaster, and they're probably got all the money that they're going to get out of it until they put it on Xbox. So we'll see.
That's a very interesting theory regarding what gets decided for a port, right? Like, I know that jokingly, a lot of people said full slate. I've even said it jokingly. Look, again, if you have a game, perfect example of Returnal, or more specifically, let's just bring Days Gone into the conversation. Now, I didn't actually know this. Crispy and I were talking in the green room, so I did a search, and I would have gotten this wrong. So I asked, what has been the total sales for Days Gone across PC and PS5? Folks, if you didn't know this, and I didn't, 9 million plus copies. That is a lot of copies for this game. Not that it wasn't a great game. It was phenomenal. But I didn't know that it had sold 9 million copies, which is a little bit surprising. Why even Crispy said it, they didn't get the second one or the sequel greenlit. Now, this is what for one instance that I did get clipped on, where I said that if it was released on Xbox, maybe Sony could use that as a testing poll, if you will, to whether or not to green light a sequel. Some people are like, well, just a second, Boom, why would they do that? Shut up. Because, of course, they have to check on the sales. And obviously, we know that if it sold 9 million copies between PC and PlayStation, those gamers actually would probably buy a sequel. But if they put it out on Xbox, and let's say, for instance, it sold 3 million. Let's say, for instance, it sold 5 million copies. Because, Xbox players like zombie games. A lot of people love State of Decay. This is kind of like State of Decay, just single player, right? It would work fine. Now, to Crispy and Fuzzy's point about sales, if a game like Returnal has sold everything it's going to sell, it was on PC, it sold minuscule. It didn't even hit 1 million copies on Xbox. What do you do with a game like that? You port it, because you could probably, and he said it, could Xbox gamers buy as much as PlayStation gamers? Yeah, I guess, but it is a bit of a niche title, so there's no real chance, or you can't really put the rubber stamp on whether or not that's actually going to happen. But Days Gone, now that's a horse of a different color, or a pony of a different color, if you want to make a joke out of it. But I think that it would sell not only really well, but even though it sold 9 million copies across PC and across PS5, which is significant, I think it's hit a wall. No one's buying that game right now. But if it released on Xbox, again, that's something I could see some major sales for. I mean, I would buy it in a second. I wouldn't even think twice. But look, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see what happens. Again, if you watch Mag's video, and you should, it's 4 minutes, 22 seconds, not long. It's in the show notes. If you want to catch up on it, you can simply just click into the show notes and click the video if you want to give him a view. Obviously, his link, if you're not already following him on the socials, go ahead and do that. But yeah, I mean, this is being reported by numerous places, including Mag more specifically, who did a video this morning. And the two sides are talking to bring Returnal, and the studio that would be bringing Returnal over to series consoles would in fact be Nixxes, from what it has been described. But, ladies and gentlemen, we got to segue and keep that Sony energy going, because, folks, I got news for you. Some big conversational pieces happened over the weekend, Crispy Bomb, and it surrounded whether or not Fairgames from Jade Raymond's, formerly Jade Raymond of Haven Studios, is that game DOA or not? Now, look, we did have some big personalities get involved in this conversation, and one of which was Destin Legary, who is, by the way, out in Germany right now, because he's going out there to cover Gamescom, which starts this week, which is awesome. So I'm looking forward to his content, as well as Kay Asante, who has boots on the ground in Germany as we speak. But he said he had it confirmed that the game is not canceled. Well, folks, I'm here to say that I have heard otherwise. Now, again, his information is newer than mine, but I know that there are some people on the socials saying that there was just some job postings for that game. How could it be canceled, Boom? How is this possible? Well, interestingly enough, the 70s racing game Contraband, if you guys and gals remember, when there was originally a bunch of cancellations, that game was, when it was announced, the layoffs and the closure of, the initiative and the cancellation of Perfect Dark, this is one of the games that came into question. And most people equated, oh no, the game is okay. They just put out a job listing for 3 positions, as a matter of fact, 3 weeks before the game was officially canceled. Now, I'm not saying that is what's happening, Crispy, for Fairgames, but look, I sent you guys over the notes, and I'm going to refer to them because I don't remember off the top of my head, but we do have some interesting tidbits here. Now, look, folks, I'm all about evidence-based conversation, and I think that when you lay the breadcrumbs down, it's hard to argue whether or not a game is on life support or it's fully canceled. This particular game, Fairgames, has a significant amount of controversy surrounding it, and I think the most damning part of that conversation is the fact that the founder of the studio herself, Jade Raymond, who founded the studio, and it was announced that PlayStation was going to buy her studio. They did. They showed off the game via a CG trailer. And since its original showing, and it was announced originally May of 2023 during Sony's PlayStation Showcase, we have seen absolutely nothing. Now, there are some rumors floating around that there was a public playtest that was private to the public, the people that actually played the game, and that it did not get really good reviews. Most people did not like it. This game has been in development potentially for 2 or 3 years. I mean, if we're thinking maybe a year before it was announced, maybe that's why Sony bought Jade Raymond's studio, because then she was working on this, and they were in that period where they were transferring from single player games to a more gas game future. And obviously we know how that turned out for PlayStation, and it's not really good. This is one of those instances, Crispy, where when you consider what is currently available for Fairgames, if you go out and you do a search, you only can find concept art. You can't find any gameplay. You can go watch the trailer. It's still available. It is a CG trailer. It does look like Payday, and not a great ripoff of Payday. Payday is what it is, and this looked like it with just different characters. I said that from inception. It did not. I'm not the targeted audience. I don't know who is, but I want to get your thoughts on this, because Destin Legary did in fact get it confirmed that it's not canceled, or at least not canceled as of this weekend. I have a feeling that this story blew up in Sony's face, and they're gonna have to come to the to the carpet side and let everyone know what's going on, because some people are going to want to know. And I have a strong suspicion that this game is going to be canceled, just based on what is currently available in the information. The fact that Jade Raymond left the studio. Now, the one thing we don't know is whether or not she left willingly or she left because Sony sent her packing. I don't have that information. I don't know who does. I don't think it matters, to be honest with you. She's no longer with the studio that she founded. That's kind of a big problem. Let's get your thoughts on some of the reports, and more specifically, Destin Legary had to say that he found out that the game is not canceled, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it would not be a good look for Sony if they cancel another game. I mean, seriously. I've seen a lot of conflicting reports from some supposed insiders in certain situations. Some saying that it's like they're revamping it and it's like years away now, or they're changing, its concept entirely. There's also, plenty of reports that say it's canceled. Some cite certain things that you've already cited and, say, oh, they're hired people. We've seen that before. Okay. And I'm sure Contraband's just the one we've seen recently, but I know that's happened before on other games. So, the glaring thing for me is that if Jade Raymond left and took people with her, people are just like, no, I work for her. I don't work for, I didn't come here to, not see her vision through. I'll give you some hope, because they always say, oh, it's just the gas games. Well, I mean, if the game's going to live, it's going to release it to as many platforms as possible, because it just has a what we'd call a stain on it right now, that it's just like there's no hype for it. Nothing's going on. There's no news about it. I mean, there's no trying to hype build it. Does Sony want to spend more money on developing it? Does it seem worth it to them? These are the issues that they're looking at this point, because of Concord, probably as the biggest one that shows them that they need to really know the vision, know that, it's not like something it's got to be something different if it's going to be a gas game. You can't just be trying to copy everybody else. So do they see a way to make money in some way, shape, or form? You know what I mean? Sell enough copies by using, the player base that Xbox has and being into multiplayer. It's possible, but in my eyes, just what has transpired is not good. And it really comes down to whether Sony wants to spend the extra money, or they just want to, take their losses and move on from it. And, really right now, every time we see something like this, they might wait longer to try to separate all the bad news, but in realism, it ends up happening. So for my hope, the game's not canceled, because I'm sick of looking at it, seeing canceled games, in general. But I mean, unfortunately for PlayStation, they've canceled a lot, so hopefully they found a new kind of way to rework the game without, going years from now and releasing it. Because if they do that, it's done. I'm sorry. They're not going to keep spending that type of money if it's already been developed since the 2023, possibly earlier than that. So I don't see it, but hopefully it somehow comes out in the wash and it's a decent game.
I mean, listen, you bring up a phenomenal point about it having to be different. Like, it can't really be a copy and paste clone of Payday, because nobody really wants that. I mean, Payday, when it first came out, had that that GTA Online vibe, right? That a lot of people really dug, and they've had, I think, a total of 3 iterations. I don't know what to play. Basically, again, it's not a game that I'm going to play for sure, because I'm not into robbing banks. I'd rather play Call of Duty. That's just me. But there is an audience out there. The problem with this game is that has been, at least it was a part of this future that before his firing, Jim Ryan wanted for PlayStation, Fuzzy Belvedere, and that's the gas game. They basically wanted to tap into what was very successful for Xbox. Xbox continues to light up the charts, specifically on PlayStation with some of their gas games. And obviously, what could also be happening and coming to PlayStation sooner than later is a gas game in the form of a new Halo game, right? And that's just more money that they're going to be getting from the PlayStation community. Now, I don't know how many people are going to, sign up for Halo on PlayStation, but I know that they have several games in development, and they're all going to be gas game related. This is one of those instances where if you have games, you know what? Let's put it into a more simple perspective. You take a game like Fairgames. Now, it's probably, if it survives everything, that all the trials and tribulations that has been put before it, it's probably going to release as a multi-plat, because it's a gas game, right? So it's going to release on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, and Nintendo's the wild card. Like, everyone's keeps saying everything's going to Nintendo, and guess what? Nothing has gone to Nintendo. So we have no idea. But what you're asking this new IP to do is challenge the top 5 for relevancy. Roblox, Minecraft, Call of Duty, Warzone, which is still free to play, and of course, Fortnite and Apex Legends. Now, there are others in there. Some people's lists might be different than mine, and that's fine. But those are my top 5.
Mhm.
How do you expect a new IP that's kind of a copy of another IP to survive? Yeah.
No, it's definitely a hard question. Like for people that may not remember, at some point I want you guys to look up a game from Sega called Hyenas.
Oh my
That
God, I
one,
remember that. Yes.
that one to me was a little bit of a different spin on the Payday deal, where it was like kind of space or game show oriented. And Sega saw that there wasn't enough hype. I mean, I was mildly interested, but because it was Sega, but they decided that it just wasn't generating enough buzz, and they wound up pulling the plug before they even started doing the beta or the open beta and stuff like that. So here comes Fairgames, where it's not really doing much different. Sure, there'll be different skins, there'll be different team makeup type of deals as far as a demo or a DPS person or something to that effect. But it didn't really seem like it caught fire with the PlayStation audience when they showed it in a state of play a few years back. Ever since then, it really hasn't gone in the headlines other than, well, is it next to have the Concord effect? Is it next to, get delayed like marathon type of deal? And they didn't really talk about a delay. Like if I'm not mistaken, originally it was supposed to land this year. And it should be out or out, fairly soon around this time is what it was originally slated for per that state of play. And then they went completely silent. Jade Raymond parted ways, and we haven't really heard much since. Now, is it safe to assume? I mean, I know a lot of people here know the same about assuming, but I can see why Michael Pachter, made the assumption that it's probably canceled, because what game is going to have the lead person leave of a studio that was mainly picked up because of that lead person? Now, her track record as far as finished games or released games, it's not as solid as it probably could be. She had a few misses at Google and a few other publishers and things like that. So that part isn't new, but it really comes down to, would this game, even if she stayed, still be released or have a fighting chance? And I don't really see Payday charting on PlayStation already, so I really don't see this doing any better than what Concord. And it's sad to say, to some extent, the game didn't really spark that kind of level of interest. And it's at this point, it's becoming harder and harder to break into this free-to-play space when you have games like Fortnite, where it's its own platform, and they just keep on making new modes that kind of encompass everything that exists in gaming right now. You got things like, Grand Theft Auto Online that's still charting and still has a loyal player base until probably Grand Theft Auto 6 version of it, as far as an online version, is readily available. Does Rockstar just make the online portion, an updated map where you go to the airport and travel? I mean, any way you look at it, it's going to take up a nice big chunk of available players to play a live service game. And you still have Warzone doing numbers. You still have Apex Legends doing numbers. You still have, PUBG even doing numbers. Not the numbers that it did in the past, but it's still doing well. And you have a lot of the Hoyoverse games still doing well. You even have, Final Fantasy 14 still, taking up a nice chunk of player base out there. And there's MMOs and free-to-play games that are taking up so much breathing room for a game to try to break into that space. Is really difficult these days, unless you have something that's a very unique look or different spin on gameplay. Like talked about with 3-Bit yesterday, games like Grounded, because of it being a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of thing, that's where it has a little bit of an edge as far as it's a recognized idea that you can finally get to play in that no one was really doing before. You look at things like Sea of Thieves. People love pirates. I think even PTK had made mention it's like the Jack Sparrow whole legacy with Disney and stuff. How successful that has been with the Pirates of the Caribbean. That's something that even with them doing that crossover for Sea of Thieves, it's a game that appeals because of the type of game it is. And sure, they've had some clones come out afterwards, but Skull and Bones isn't doing the numbers it probably could have if it stuck to the Black Flag plan that people were asking for the ship battles way back when. So it goes to show, breaking into this area, you have to be original. Or if you're not original, you better have some sort of key hook that's going to draw people in, like Marvel Rivals. It's essentially Overwatch 2 to some extent, but it's got Marvel characters. It's third person, which that's one of the things that, even though people buy skins and stuff like that in Overwatch, being able to constantly see in third person would probably be a bigger seller, and Marvel Rivals proves that. And I'm not going to go into the detail of some of the skins for the female characters, but that has a certain draw and appeal to it. So if Fairgame isn't trying to appeal on the sex appeal aspect of things, that was the key thing that I think Concord completely missed on, where people were like, I don't want to play as any of these characters because none of them seem interesting. That's going to be a drawback or a downfall when it comes to something like Fairgames. They look like ordinary people that have like gold glitter or neon paint on them and weird hairstyles, and that might sell. But if you're not going with like characters that look kind of like Stella Blade in it or something like that, it might not have that much lifespan or shelf life as far as being out there and the player base that's drawn to it. So right now, I think Sony's best bet on games as a service is to reevaluate factions. If it means building a whole new team that's going to be affiliated with Naughty Dog to handle the live service aspect while the main team of Naughty Dog continues to do the single player stuff, I think that would be in their best interest. I mean, I've said it before, looking at games like the Day Before, which that was the most wishlisted game on Steam for almost 2.5 years for at some point. That game wasn't vaporware, but it wasn't exactly what was promised or what was shown. And what was shown was what I would consider a cross between The Last of Us and The Division. And there is an appeal for that style of game, and factions could easily deliver on that. And I've said it before, release it in early access, let the community help you build it or direct or help with the direction that goes and stuff. Fairgame, I don't really see that being that type of game that's going to attract that large of an audience. When it comes to Marathon, we'll see if Bungie survives this marriage with PlayStation. They were able to quote unquote escape Xbox or Microsoft. They were quote unquote able to escape Activision. I don't think they're escaping Sony at this point. I think they're going to get eaten up, and that'll be the end of Bungie as we know it. Some of the dev team will move to LFG, and some of them will be dispersed elsewhere. But yeah, right now, Sony needs to look at what I would say not their primary vocal fan base, but their casual fan base would be willing to play. A Spider-Man game where it's a 4-player co-op going through the streets of New York, I think has the potential because of selling skins, as well as that would be something that I could see co-op working on the PlayStation platform. Or if you want to make it multi-plat, a co-op game of something along those lines, I think would be a much easier fit to be successful. But I thought Fairgame, when they quietly bumped it out of 2025, I thought it was a done deal, especially after what happened with Concord, and especially after the lack of excitement behind not just that title, but Marathon. It's almost like everybody's been sent back to the drawing board. So we'll see.
I mean, listen, if there's going to be a cancellation, you would imagine that it's going to happen simply because of what has come out, right? Like, obviously, over the weekend, this was a big conversation, and no one really knew whether or not it was officially canceled or it's not. And again, shout out to Destin Legary, who did get it confirmed. I don't know who he spoke to. I know that he did a video on it. and I didn't get a chance to catch up with the video, but I do know that he did say that the game is not canceled. I don't think that means anything outside. That means that it's okay. Even if somebody did come out from the team and say, no, the game's not canceled, that doesn't necessarily mean the game is not in any kind of trouble, because it is. Just based on all the facts that Crispy Bomb and yourself have brought forth, the game is not something a lot of people are asking for. I don't think it's going to win over anybody or pull any players away from the top 5 that I made mention of. And, obviously, it would be a multi-plat. I don't know if anybody on Xbox or PC would be looking at a game like this when there are so many others. And a perfect example of excitement from a PlayStation game that has now gone fully multi-plat is Helldivers 2, right? That's a perfect example. People are excited for the fact that it is a really great game in Helldivers 2, but it does have now attached to it a crossover with ODST. So unless they come up with some sort of a big crossover event for this new IP, I think it's dead in the water. And again, that's my opinion is solely based on the fact that the head of the studio that founded the studio is gone. And again, we don't know specifically of what the particulars were of her removal, whether in fact it was a removal or she decided to step away. But needless to say, the leader that founded the studio is no longer there, and there has been absolutely nothing on this game since its announcement in May of 2023, and that's not good, ladies and gentlemen. But, gentlemen, I want to catch up on Super Chats. We have a couple of them here, and then we're going to get into the last topic of the show, and that is talking about Gamescom 2025. We do have a detailed list provided by Xbox on what is happening per day. Opening night live, I believe it's called. That is Jeff Keighley's showcase is on Tuesday, and the other events Wednesday and Thursday for Xbox. We have that listed. We'll break that down. We'll be asking the question whether or not there's going to be any kind of surprise drops in the form of shadow dropping, which Xbox is known to do. But let's start first here with Adidas 20 dropping a very generous $2 super chat. He goes on to say, salute Boom, Crisp, and Fuzz. Good day, everyone. Well, good day to you, kind sir. Thank you so much for being here, as you always are, and appreciate the generosity. We also have a Do You K Now, the Broke Boy Insider, who's been a channel member for 13 months. So, Will, thank you so much for the outstanding support. He says it's funny. The PlayStation guys say this is nothing with PlayStation advertising Helldivers 2 for Xbox, but Ninja Theory advertising Hellblade 2 for PlayStation. They say Xbox Studios prefer PlayStation. I mean, look, it's marketing. I'll say this, and I don't shy away from admitting this. I think PlayStation has some of the best marketing in town. They just do. I wish Xbox had half of the tenacity that they do. I'm sorry, folks. That's the reality. Has marketing gotten a pinch better on Xbox? Sure. Are they up to the level of Sony? They are not, folks. Just look at some of the marketing that's going on with Helldivers 2. I mean, it's in everyone's face, including on their own website, sending you over to buy it on Xbox. Like, that's just complete madness. That actually happened, ladies and gentlemen. But again, we will certainly see. Will, thanks so much for the generosity. We also have a new super chat that popped in here from our generous friend of the program, Day Reezy, drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, it seems like Xbox is outsmarting and tricking PlayStation into porting games. They know PlayStation is going to copy them. End of console wars. Begin the port wars. 3D chess. You know what's funny? Day, I think you're onto something specifically. Like, we never really broke it down into why I think this is happening. Well, I mean, listen, again, you don't have to be a mathematician. It's money, ultimately. Sony finds themselves in a very unique position where the best listen, if you just go back to the numbers that came out, they're doing very well, right? But the question that you may want to ask is, do they want to do better? The answer is, of course. They're a $1 billion corporation. Of course, they're going to want to do better. Now, have sales been blowing up the charts with every game they release? Not really. But I got news for you. I'm sure the Hiroki Totokis of the world are looking over at what Xbox is doing on their own store and be like, yeah, you know what? We kind of want to have that same kind of energy here on PlayStation. And the truth of the matter is that whether you guys in the chat agree or you don't, and maybe some of you don't because you don't like that their over-the-shoulder, third-person, story-driven content, I actually really do like that. And if it comes to Xbox, there are people like me that have already bought it and beat it and played through it on PlayStation and would gladly play through Horizon Zero Dawn and Days Gone and Uncharted for that matter. I'd play through the Uncharted series in a freaking second on Xbox. Is that eventually going to happen? Only time is going to tell. But again, the signs that you have to look forward to is how well does Helldivers actually do on Xbox? If it blows up the chart, I think it's a far gone conclusion, if you will. We also had another super chat comment here from Will, the Broke Boy Insider, drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. He goes on to say, did you see the VGT gaming news post showing some games at Gamescom on opening night live left off Black Ops 7, first game announced for it, and Yotai listed twice? No, man, look, we knew a month ago that Black Ops 7 was going to open the show. That's a really big deal. Is it a big deal in the sense that it's going to get anybody to be surprised that Black Ops 7 is going to be awesome? No. As a matter of fact, the lead topic tomorrow on the Xbox Factor podcast is going to be this ginormous leak from, something of hope. I have it here. Forgot his name. He's a big Call of Duty leaker. And he has broken down like a lot of what's happening with Black Ops 7, and it's going to be content for days, which gets me very excited. As a matter of fact, there's going to be more content from Inception than Black Ops 6 by leaps and bounds. So we're going to get into that tomorrow. It's good. Listen, Will, you're not telling me anything. I'm not surprised. It's Jeff's show, opening the night live, and it's his baby, just like the Game Awards. And he does things that are just head scratching, man. I mean, you've heard me say this before, and I don't shy away from saying this, folks. He's supposed to be an ambassador for gaming, right? Like, he has contracts in place with Xbox and Nintendo, and we know he's a PlayStation guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you are supposed to be an ambassador for gaming, you don't do things like this. I don't know why no one has called him to the carpet on it. Like I said, I like Jeff, but this is the kind of stuff that gets him in trouble with the community. And sorry, folks, it's just a bit head scratching with him. But gentlemen, I want to move on to the final topic of the show. Now, granted, I am reading the official presser from Xbox.com regarding what and when and where they're doing their Gamescom event. Now, the first day, which of course is going to be Wednesday, August 20th, this is their live stream. This is what they're going to have. They're going to have the ROG Xbox Ally. They're going to be talking about it. It's going to be people that are there, like Keasante, are potentially going to get hands-on. I know Paris Lilly has already talked about it. He's getting hands-on. I would imagine Destin Legary, Danny Pena, many of the big personalities are going to be getting hands-on if they haven't already with this console. The rumor surrounding the ROG Xbox Ally is that pre-orders are going to go live on Wednesday as soon as the show starts. Now, I don't know where I'm going to buy mine, but I'm hoping to be able to get it. I don't know if it's going to quote unquote sell out at $1,000, and that's the rumor, folks. We will see what the official U.S. price is on Wednesday, but that is the rumor that pre-orders are supposed to go live on Wednesday. I'm very excited because I am going to be getting that console. They also have here Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Okay, I guess maybe that's from last year's. I don't know. Maybe it's getting an update. They have Dying Light. The Beast is going to be there. Keeper is going to be there. So there's going to be gameplay of that. I'm very excited to see. You know, we only saw a small smidgen of what that's going to be from Double Fine, but it's Double Fine, and it's from Tim Schafer, and his team is incredible. That already has piqued my interest enough. World of Warcraft. Now, this is a very interesting one, gentlemen and chat, because again, if you follow the socials, the people from Blizzard have been out talking up this showing, but I don't think they're talking up this showing as only being on a PC when it's released. Folks, there is some talk and some rumors, again, this is unconfirmed, that World of Warcraft could get an actual console announcement and launch on Xbox. Now, that would be, again, listen, I'm not a World of Warcraft guy. I don't think I'm going to be one, to be honest with you. But there are a lot of people on Xbox that have been waiting for this day, and Gamescom is a pretty big place to make an announcement this big. I don't remember the developer's name. I don't have it in front of me, and I apologize. I will add it when I find it in the show notes. But basically, the quote was, "Y'all are not ready for World of Warcraft at Gamescom." I mean, is that just the game he's talking about, or is that the Xbox announcement? Now, remember, there's some rumorage floating around that there was an Xbox logo at the end of the trailer. I don't know. I didn't see that myself, but that would be a monstrosity of an announcement. We also have Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Obviously, it's going to open the show. It's going to open Jeff's show, but it's going to be here in a big way. Grounded 2 is going to be there. It's already out. People are really enjoying it. There's going to be some more footage for Hotel Barcelona, Invisible Versus, which I am very excited for. Chronos: The New Dawn, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, Outbound, Power Wash Simulator 2, Star Sand Island, and the DLC for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle called The Order of Giants. Now, for Thursday, August 21st, here is the lineup for games that are going to be shown, ladies and gentlemen. Ninja Gaiden 4, At Fate's End, Onimusha, Way of the Sword, Age of Empires 4, Overwatch 2, High on Life 2, The Outer Worlds 2, Jurassic World Evolution 3, some new footage for Fragpunk and Mistfall Hunter. You're going to get an official gameplay of Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, Final Fantasy Tactics, the Invalis Chronicles, My Hero Academia, All's Justice, it's called, Silent Hill F. Yes, I'm very much looking forward to that. Lego Voyagers, and lastly, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. Crispy Bomb, there's going to be a lot of games shown, and we obviously know what Xbox is doing because they literally just told us. The question that I have for you is there going to be a shadow drop of sorts? Is there going to be, let's say, I don't know, a dual announcement via PlayStation and an Xbox, or, you know, a game from PlayStation going on to Xbox that's not Returnal? Maybe Spider-Man? And I say that, and again, folks, this is a big, you know, hoping on a dream kind of a thing. September 7th is right around the corner. And what you say, well, boom, what's September 7th? Well, September 7th happens to be the 7th anniversary of Spider-Man 2018. And look, folks, I mean, Insomniac's been out talking about Spider-Man. They've been tweeting about it for weeks. That would be another really big announcement. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, I mean, you know what I want. I want to like some kind of extra tease of E-Day, or
yes,
maybe a little clip of gameplay or something like that. You know, like that would be great. You know, I truly believe though, like you're just gonna see like I'm not sure. I haven't really paid attention to it. Is Flight Sim on PlayStation?
It is not as of yet. No.
Maybe that's one of the things and the reason why it's there. Makes sense. I mean, seriously, like it's a game that should be just fully multi-plat, in my opinion. It should have always been. But you got that World of Warcraft. I think that's a big thing that, if it does come to Xbox, because at the end of the day, I think they're the amount of games, it feels like it's going to be hard to have something like, blow people's minds. But at the same time, they did say they are very focused on Gamescom, especially this year. So why not do something, pretty cool? Even, maybe some Clockwork Revolution shows up again. We haven't seen State of Decay 3 in a while. Maybe some more in-depth gameplay that just shows up, but it's hard to say. I mean, Xbox, when they do these types of announcements, generally they're just, they stick to their guns, and whatever nuance is inside said game announcement, is possible. Like, bring it to PlayStation, bring World of Warcraft to Xbox. At the end of the day, like I want to see more of Outer Worlds 2. I want to see, more of Ninja Gaiden 4.
Yes.
These are the things that I'm looking forward to. I have very low expectations as far as, getting like some more Gears E-Day or something like that. But, at the end of the day, if they do it, like it's definitely, it would be smart to do something like that, or have a shadow drop. Like, let's say Keeper, all of a sudden the game's coming out in like a month. You know what I'm saying? Like,
interesting.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like we, if we see that and then all of a sudden we're seeing it again, you know how they roll. Like, sometimes, Tim's just like, yeah, let's put it out there. You know what I mean? Cause it seems like, they have the loop ready and everything. Like, they showed a lot of actual what you're going to be doing, in what they've shown already. So maybe you see some full on, like, somebody playing it, and maybe they say like, hey, it's going to come out this year or something. You never know. So I think like we're going to see something within some of these titles that is going to be a little bit surprising. And that's kind of my guess on any, like, oh yeah, mind blown moment. Like it's possible to get mind blown just by, saying, oh, it's going to come out in a month or something like that. So we'll see what happens.
It's going to be, that's a really good thought process. Could you imagine if Keeper is the shadow drop? Oh, dude, that would be freaking awesome. Because again, they've been working on that for a while. I mean, the rumor is anyway, they've been working on quite a few things, but that would be pretty dope. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. Tim is one of my favorite personalities and head of the studios in gaming. I love his energy. I've been a fan of his work for years. And I was actually sitting in the 5th row with King David when his studio was announced as being acquired in 2019. It was an epic moment because you could see how excited he was to become a part of Xbox. And there's a lot of reasons why, even more so than just being excited that he was, now a part of Xbox. You got to remember, if you look back to Psychonauts, that game was going to come out without even bosses, because they were self-funding that game, and they're a small studio and they were almost on death's door. And I love the fact that Tim and that team is still available, still around, and are going to continue to make games, which is awesome. And I'm very excited for Keeper. I have no idea what it is outside of a lighthouse with legs. But I'm excited nonetheless because it's a Tim's, Tim and his team are putting that together. I think it's going to be dope. But Fuzzy Belvedere, again, the list of games that are going to be there are, there's nothing really super new that we're like, oh my God, I can't believe. I kind of, maybe, you know what it is? I'll say this publicly. Maybe I'm a spoiled bastard. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I want something new. I want a surprise. Every game on that list is epic, right? Some of which we've seen 10 times over, others not as much. And I'm always looking for the next shadow drop because, one, I'm a content creator. So when you have a shadow drop, it's breaking news and you get a chance to, get on here and hang out with the, with the fam and talk about games. But I mean, if they just walk away with what we've already saw, it's a win for Xbox, because obviously it's going to be in Germany, where right now Xbox doesn't really. I mean, it has a presence, but it doesn't have a presence like PlayStation. PlayStation's like 5-1. It might even be 6-1. And if they could win back some hearts and minds with the handheld, which, by the way, I don't know whether you guys and gals saw, Gears of War Reloaded has already been confirmed as of this morning as ROG Ally or ROG Xbox Ally available. So it's going to be able to play that game. Which, again, shout out to Xbox PR. I didn't know I was getting it, folks, because I don't expect anything. But I did get a copy, and I've been playing all weekend, of Gears of War Reloaded. I can't speak on it. I can't say a single word. I'm under NDA. I'll be able to give you my thoughts and my theories on the 26th when it becomes available. But I do want to thank them publicly for, bringing Double Barrel Gaming into the review process. That's pretty awesome. But, rewinding it right back to Gamescom, Fuzzy, what are you expecting at the big show? Because this is a big show.
Well, I'll start with the things I'm most excited about. The Xbox Ally. I'm hoping that we get a pre-order date and release date and solid price. I think we will. I'm pretty sure it'll be something like, pre-orders are available today, and hoping for affordability for everyone out there, 600 or 800, 6 for the regular Ally and maybe 800 for the X for in USD.
Yes.
If it's about $100 more, I still think that's a pretty good value for what you're getting as far as the chipset in those devices. But I'm looking forward to seeing what more they have to say about it, and I think we'll also get a Xbox Ally verified list, kind of like what Steam does for the Steam Deck and such. So looking forward to that. Also looking forward to was it Chronos, the New Dawn, the Bloober Team game. Want to see some more about that. Looking forward to when it's released. I don't know if we'll get a release date, but yeah, definitely want to see some more about that game. I don't know if we've gotten a release date for the DLC for Indiana Jones, but looking forward to that. The Order of the Giants.
That's going to come in the fall, potentially, right?
Yeah, I figure, maybe it's at the 1 year anniversary or something like that from when Indiana Jones was released. So looking forward to like more details on that. Ninja Gaiden definitely up there. Onimusha Way of the Sword is going to be, I guess, shown on Thursday. So looking forward to some more info on that. I'm really wondering if World of Warcraft, and I know there's some people in the chat that aren't excited about World of Warcraft, and it's not that I'm excited or not excited. I just kind of look at it as another style of game that I'd be willing to try. Like I love Diablo. I know it's not a 1-for-1 kind of comparison, but games like that, especially if you have a group that you can go through dungeons with and things like that, I want to see what that looks like on console, because I'm under the impression that it's already got controller layout or config out there. I don't know how accurate that is, but if it does have controller configs out there, then that probably means it's coming to console fairly soon. So we'll see if there's an announcement along with, I guess, the DLC that they're going to show there as well. But something outside of, before I get to what's outside of Xbox, I was hoping, although they could still surprise us, but I'm a little less confident at this point. What do you call it? Xbox Series 3 Elite. I was hoping that we would get something like that unveiled. I mean, there's still that possibility, but it's seeming less likely now.
Yeah.
But I'm pushing for them to, release that before the next console, because they very rarely, if never, release the Elite controllers with the next console. So getting that controller now, and maybe it gives us some insight to stuff that will be accessible on the next console, would be kind of cool. But outside of Xbox, the big thing that I'm looking forward to, and this is going to probably sound weird, but if you know the games I play, I'm looking forward to what Massive from Ubisoft has to talk about when it comes to The Division. And I know they're going to bring up some of the resurgent stuff as far as the mobile game, which there's some features in that game I want to see come to the main game. But the big thing is, if you're a fan of Division 1 and survival, or the survival DLC, that basically it's like the Dark Zone, actual survival with the weather effects and things. I'm getting the impression that we might see a survival 2.0 for the Division 2.
My brother would love that. He was mad addicted to that. I hated it, but he loved it.
Yeah. So I'm hoping we get some more info on that, or maybe we get weather effects, kind of like what you see in Forza Horizon 4. I mean, it's still in Forza Horizon 5 as far as the changing weather, but you don't get to see as much snow, except for in the mountains of Mexico and stuff. But if we get a weather effect that changes weekly, kind of like the way it did for Forza Horizon 4, I'd be pretty pumped for that as well. But man, I'm looking forward to the show, because there's going to be a lot of smaller games that are going to be talked about, or people will have hands on. Remember, Silksong is going to be a playable demo, even though it's not listed on there, but it will be a playable demo at the Gamescom. I wish there was a demo playable that we could download from our consoles, kind of like what they did for that non-E3 a couple of years ago, where it was like, oh, some of the games that are at the booth, they'll have it where you could play it on your console for like a day or two, or for the course of the events and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm looking to see if we get maybe a solid release date or something of that nature. But just knowing that it's going to be in a playable state there is definitely exciting as well. But yeah, it's going to be a busy week this week, and I'm not sure what we're going to hear as far as possible PlayStation stuff. I would hope that if the rumors are true of a state of play supposedly for September, I don't know what games they'll have ready outside of Yotai. I know Yotai is coming out in, was that October? So maybe that state of play is a deeper dive, although I thought they kind of already did that. But whatever other game they may talk about for September would be interesting to see, if Marathon's on that list, or even if Fairgame is on that list, or maybe something totally different, or maybe a more solid date for Soros or something, which is like the game from the same people that did Returnal. Maybe we'll get more info on that. But Gamescom looks to be big. I'm not expecting any major, shadow drops, although maybe that Fallout thing that we're hearing about, or the Halo thing that we're hearing about, maybe one of those gets talked about. But I also think, when is that that tournament thing coming up for the Halo, where they're supposed
October.
to
That is going to be at the end of October.
Okay.
And it's going to be in Texas. It's the Halo Championships. That has already been confirmed by Halo Studios. They're going to be unveiling at least what they've been working on. There's rumors that there might actually be a multiplayer drop. I don't know. I mean, again, it's the championship, so it's going to be a big multiplayer event. If you're going to announce anything, that would be the spot, dude.
Yeah. But between Fallout and something Halo, those are about the only things that I'm kind of expecting, maybe as a surprise, or at least to be talked about, especially with the season 2 coming up here pretty quick. But man, it's going to be an exciting week this week. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for what goes on at Gamescom.
Yeah, I mean, it's Xbox is going to be there in a really, really big way. I think the hardware is probably going to lead the charge in the conversation, simply because it's a rumor, folks. Whether or not you take it with a grain of salt or not, if you're interested in pre-ordering the ROG Xbox Ally, you want to keep your eyes and ears pinned to, of course, the socials, more specifically Xbox. I believe it's going, again, this is a rumor, folks, that is going to be available for pre-order as of the show. And that makes sense, right? Like, obviously, they're going to have a less big blowout, and the pre-order is going to go up, and, we'll get the official pricing at the event. I'm very excited for it. I'm going to get it. I'm getting the big boy one, which is probably going to be around $800. And shout out to several people that I don't know why I got fun with my words, that Gears of War Reloaded is certified. Thank you so much for that. Super appreciate the help. But I am looking forward to seeing what that console can do. It's probably everything I've always wanted, more so than what I already have with the original ROG Ally. because there's, I mean, again, the army crate for the console is okay, but it's not, hey, I'm gonna go. I want a console experience on my handheld. You're gonna get it with this, which I'm very excited about. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is gonna do it for us here. Hopefully, you had a great time with today's podcast. Let me just catch up with the last super chat that popped in here from Highlanders Grim in the chat. Great to see you here, and thank you so much for the very generous $2 super chat. Highlanders Grim goes on to say, I hope we get a WoW for all consoles announcement. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, if they manage to figure out how to get it to consoles, I mean, how many people are going to play it? I have no idea. I'm not going to play it because I'm not a WoW guy. I never have been. But there's going to be a lot of people on console that have never played it, that have always wanted to. And it launching for Xbox and potentially even PlayStation would be a really freaking big deal. And it would be a big announcement. We'll see. Again, I just go back to some of the excitement behind what the people at Blizzard are saying. They're very excited. Now, I'm sure they're excited for the release of this new DLC or this new expansion, but I think it's a little bit more than that, honestly. Again, only time is going to tell. But a big thank you to all of the super chats, channel member chats, and gifted subs that continue to come in for the channel. Mrs. Boom and I do greatly appreciate the generosity. And, of course, a big thank you to, wow, well over 700 people watching live on a freaking Monday. That is awesome. We appreciate all of the viewage as we close in, hopefully by year's end. The channel is closing in on 8 million views in 8 years. That is bombastic by any measure that you could possibly throw at us. We would have never guessed that we would ever be able to say, oh yeah, the channel had 1 million views. We're closing on 8 million views. That is, and you know how I know that's confirmed? That's not like bot views, because we pay extra for YouTube for premium, and we get all of this extra stuff through vidIQ. Again, it's expensive, but it's worth it because they do help us with the analytics of the channel, and it makes all the behind the scenes stuff much easier to understand. So these numbers, I'm not pulling them out of my rear. They are literally coming from YouTube. So yes, almost 8 million views is a really, really big deal for a small ass channel like Double Barrel Gaming. We also have another super chat here from Will the Broke Boy Insider. He says this. You know what I did, Will? You're right. He says, missed my $2 super chat about Keeley and Black Ops 7. You're absolutely correct. What the hell is that? Okay, yeah, here it is. I found it. He says, no, Keeley actually listed Black Ops 7 first on his, I guess you meant to say his X account. I mean, listen, look, he does weird things. I don't understand it. He's supposed to, again, I keep saying this, folks. You're supposed to be an ambassador, meaning that he has contracts with every big out there. I get being a fan of a brand, but sometimes he misses things, and it almost seems like it's on purpose. I'm sorry. He just does. It's so mind-scratching. I don't know what else to say. But, Will, thank you so much for the generosity and the additional very generous $2 from chat. We super appreciate that. Let's get one out of here. Crispy Bomb, we'll start first with you, kind sir. Once again, thank you so much for joining me and Crispy Bomb. Crispy Bomb. You are Crispy Bomb. Me and Fuzzy Belvedere. My God, you have to win. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that you're hoping for new information on Gears. Man, you know what? It would have been great, but I don't think you get it this time around because you didn't get it. We didn't get it in June, and maybe they're saving a big blowout for something at like the Game Awards. Now that would be a really, really big deal because there's going to be a lot of eyes on that, and that is going to launch, according to Paris Lily, multiplat. That's going to be launching on PlayStation and Xbox when it releases next year. We will certainly see. Brother, sell the brand. Where can people follow you on the socials, get those receipts, and of course the crispy truth? What else you got going on, brother?
At Crispy Bomb on X, Crispy Bomb 28 Xbox Live. You can find me wherever I show up on Boom's channel. Probably another time this week. Who knows? But we'll see you then.
Yeah, well, we love to have you here, and of course, you bring it every time you're on the show. We definitely appreciate the tenacity. Lastly, Fuzzy Belvedere, Fuzzy, let's sell the brand, brother. Of course, we're not selling your brand. We're trying to push the Mrs. channel, which of course is Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday evenings, where if you like horror, and sometimes it's even Z horror, I don't mean zombies, you want to tune in and you want to check it out because it's fun. It's a fun, engaging, and listen, quite frankly, there are not a lot of horror podcasts, at least that I know of. Sell the brand. Where can people tune in, subscribe, and follow you guys on the socials?
Oh, as always, love being on here with you, Boom and Crispy. Just love the Monday start to the week with breaking news and everything that we look forward to for this week in gaming. Always love doing this, talking about my favorite hobby, and yeah, always enjoy sharing this with everybody in the chat. Love interacting with you guys. Greatly appreciate you guys showing up and supporting us. Don't forget, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate it. And for those who want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just do a search on the internet for Fuzzy Belvedere. You'll be able to find my social media accounts as well. And for the horror fans, both in gaming and in movies, definitely check out me and my wife's podcast, Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be diving into a classic, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original.
That's a great one, dude.
So definitely hang with us on Friday. We'll talk about that as well as a random music video that we participated in or filmed in on Saturday, and then we also have some other stuff coming up for upcoming films that we'll be a part of. So definitely hang with us on Friday. Look forward to seeing you guys in the chat. Always appreciate the support and hope to see you guys here Friday morning for Breakfast with Boom, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love to see you guys there as well.
Appreciate you being here, brother. And yes, we're going to be doing it live on Friday. Thursday, we may not be doing the show, me and C Money, simply because Mrs. Boom is on vacation for the second half of the week. We are doing Breakfast with Boom Friday morning because my nephew is going to open and close the show on camera as he's, interning with Boom, Uncle Boom, to learn about podcasting. And I keep telling the kid, aim higher, kid, aim higher. But he's actually taking a class for this semester upcoming in social media and podcasting. Like, that's an actual class in this high school. I couldn't freaking believe it. But yeah, so he's very excited to be opening and closing the show. He's actually going to be stopping by to help me with the thumbnail for that show because, of course, he's now learning about art assets and how to layer and things of that nature. And his dad's an artist, which is awesome. His mom as well. So happy to be helping him in thumbnail design because that is one of the hardest things that you can do in podcasting. At least it was for me. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in and checking out today's new episode for the new, again, Xbox Lunch Break Special. And of course, we're going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.